Welcome to the session on ordering of sentences. Ordering of sentences, at times referred to as parajumbles, also known as jumbled sentences, is a common occurrence in many competitive exams like banking, SBI, IBPS, RRB, SSC. Students aspiring to take up higher education, exams like CAT, MAT, ICIT, TOEFL. It is also a common thing in campus hiring processes. Parajumbles is essentially a set of sentence given to us which is in a jumbled form. Each sentence carries some clues. We need to understand those clues, connect those clues to form a coherent paragraph. We understood that there are two types of parajumble questions called floating jumbles and rooted jumbles. In floating jumbled questions, all the sentences given to us, it could either be 4 or 6 sentences, all of them are in a jumbled form. We need to arrange each of the sentence to form a coherent paragraph. Whereas, on the other hand, a rooted jumble is where sentence 1 and sentence 6, the first and the last sentence is in a fixed position. We need to work on the 4 sentences that appear in between these two sentences, arrange them to form a logical paragraph. We apply various strategies to be able to do the same. One of the very first strategy is identifying an independent sentence. As the name suggests, an independent sentence is a sentence that does not require any supporting statements. It's a general statement made about the topic that gets discussed in the paragraph. You can also look at it as the logic behind the paragraph. The second strategy we spoke about is forming mandatory pairs. We form several mandatory pairs and these pairs need to appear immediately after another to be able to form a paragraph. Few of the mandatory pairs that we form are general. Immediately after that will be a specific statement, noun followed by a pronoun statement, a full form followed by an abbreviation, a question followed by an answer, a problem followed by a solution, support signal words followed immediately by a contradictory signal word. We saw a few examples where we applied these mandatory pairing and were able to solve paragraphs and made them a coherent one. Let's further continue and solve few more questions in the same line. Here is a floating jumble. One of the very first things required to do in a floating jumble is identifying the independent sentence. I was talking about a shortcut, a clue that will help you in solving these questions much easier in my previous video. Go to the options given to you directly. You don't have to read the sentences. Go directly to the options given to you. Options give you an idea what could be the independent sentence in this particular paragraph. We have 4 choices, 4 options given to us. You will note that the first 2 options, option 1 and option 2, say that C must be the first sentence in the sequence. Option 3 and option 4 talk about A being the first sentence in the sequence. Now what we can do is directly going to the choices given to us will help us at arriving at the independent sentence. It also helps us at eliminating the choices given to us. The more we eliminate, it becomes easier for us to focus on the fewer ones that are left behind. It becomes easy for us to arrive at the answer. Let's take option 1 and look at sentence C. In theory, once all the bugs have been sorted out, seasoned readers, good readers are able to connect to sentences even if you don't read the complete sentence. If you notice, I read just the part of the sentence. Part of a sentence gives you an idea what the sentence is going to be. Is it an introductory sentence? Is it something that is connecting with some other sentence that is already mentioned before? Okay, the sentence C can be considered to be as the first sentence in the paragraph. Let us look at the other options. It says A to be the first sentence in the paragraph. Sentence A is, experts such as Larry Burns, head of research at GM, reckon that only such a full-hearted leap. I would ask you to stop reading here. We use the word that only such a. That is a pronoun. If we have to use that in our first sentence, it makes no sense because the mandatory pairing says we always use noun followed by a pronoun. As such, A cannot be the first sentence in the sequence. So what we do is we eliminate option 3 and option 4. We have only option 1 and option 2 to consider before we arrive at our answer. Now we have considered the options given to us. We have decided that sentence C must be the independent sentence in the sequence. In this paragraph, C is the independent statement. We will look at the second sentence. Now, the options tells us that E is the second statement because we have eliminated option 3 and option 4, and option 1 and option 2, it says that E must be the second statement. So what we do is that we assume that sentence E is the second statement in the sequence. So C, E. Now we need to decide which will be the third statement in the sequence. Option 1 says D, option 2 says B. This is a choice that will determine the course of your answer. Option 1, D, statement D says that is twice as good as the internal combustion engine, but only 5 percentage points better. Option B says, but once hydrogen is produced from biomass or extracted from underground coal or made from water using nuclear or renewable electricity, the way will open for a huge reduction in carbon emissions from the whole system. At this junction, I would ask you to pause your video and decide what could be the next sentence in the sequence. The answer is 1. D makes sense to be the third sentence in the sequence. You can pair it with sentence E. Sentence C is talking about, in theory, all the bugs have been sorted out. Fuel cells should deliver better total fuel economy. Here, it is introducing the idea of this paragraph. We understand by reading that statement that we are discussing about the efficiency of fuel cells. Sentence E is talking about how or what kind of things need to be done, allowing the resources needed to extract hydrogen from hydrocarbon, oil, coal or gas. The fuel cell has an efficiency of 30%. Okay, so here we are connecting it with sentence C and we are telling how efficient it is, right? So the words that you can connect here in sentence C and sentence E, sentence C is talking about economy and sentence E is talking about efficiency. They both go hand in hand. You can connect this with sentence D. It further talks about the percentage. It talks about how good it is. Better, it is comparing it with internal combustion engine. It says that it is twice as good as the internal combustion engine. So, we pair sentence E with sentence D. Now, once we decide sentence D must be the third statement in the sequence, We choose option 1 as our answer and move on to the next question. By following this method, you save a lot of time. You won't be reading all the sentences in the paragraph given to us. You will stick to the few of the sentences much required to be read and understood. There may be times where sentences consist in them several words that are difficult to understand by us. Sometimes it is difficult to understand them contextually also. Many people spend a lot of precious time trying to understand these words and connect them to the sentences and arrive at the answer. By following this method, going directly to the options, checking the options given to us and deciding the sequence, it becomes much easier for us to arrive at our answers. Let's look at another example. At this junction, I'll ask you people to pause the video, arrive at an answer of your own. You can follow the method that we discussed just now. The answer for this question is 1. B, D, A, C will be the sequence formed. Now, here you will see that options given to us 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 have B as the first statement and 4 has C as the first statement. Let's quickly go through the sentence B. Like many success novelists, Mr. Blackmore began his literary career by the publication of verse, several volumes of poems appearing from his pen during the years 1854 to 1860. Now this sentence gives us an idea of, okay, maybe this paragraph is talking about what Mr. Blackmore did during the years he was active as a writer. Let's look at sentence C. It says, of how much practical agricultural value. Now, you don't have to read further. You can't begin a paragraph with a sentence as such. So, we assume that B must be the first sentence in the paragraph. Now, C is eliminated. We focus on 1, 2 and 3 as our choices. Options 1 and 2 talk about D being the second sentence in the sequence and sentence C is the second statement in the sequence in option 3. Now, we'll look at sentence D. It begins with, although he never entirely abandoned verse composition, which it was only too apparent that he wrote with his left hand, the coolness with which his muse was received may have been a cause for his attempting the quite different art of the novel. Sentence C tells us of how much practical agricultural value he found there. Now, you cannot connect sentence C with sentence B. There is no connection. There is nowhere you can pair sentence B with sentence C. So what we do, we eliminate option 3 also. We decide that D must be the second sentence in the sequence. Now, we need to decide if it is AC or CA that will be the sequence. When you go through the sentence A, it says, it is pleasant to remember, however, that in these early years, he translated Virgil's Georgics, combining his threefold love of the classics, of poetry and of gardening. Okay, now you can actually pair sentence D with sentence A. It talks furthermore about what kind of work did Mr. Blackmore do? What was it that he wrote? It is talking about his works that he did between the years 1854 and 1860. You can conclude it with sentence C. It talks about agricultural value. You can connect sentence C and sentence A because agriculture and gardening, though not synonyms, you can connect them because both of them involve growing fruits and vegetables or maybe flowers in their respective places. As such, we can conclude that option 1 is our answer. Let's look at another example. Here we are talking about a rooted jumble. Now, in a rooted jumble also, going directly to the options or choices given to us would be a best way to arrive at our answers more quickly, more efficiently. Options given to us tell us here for this question that P, S or Q. These are the only possibilities of the first statement in the jumble. When you come across rooted jumbles, go through sentence 1. It is the logic of the paragraph. It is the independent statement in the paragraph. So it is vital for us to understand that statement, go through that statement, because it will become much more easier for us to connect the other sentences with sentence 1. Sentence 1 here talks about a century ago, the cinema was just a mechanical toy. Now, we'll look at the options given to us. Option 1 says P, 2 and 3 says S, and option 4 tells us that Q must be the first sentence following sentence 1. Let's look at sentence P. Thus, it gained respectability and acceptance. It somehow does not relate with sentence 1. Sentence 1 tells us that cinema was just a mechanical toy. And here sentence P begins with thus. Let's look at option 2 and 3. It says, later it was viewed as an extension of photography. This makes sense, however, we'll hold it. Let's look at sentence Q. It says, it gradually became to be considered as an art form of the new era. Now here, the confusion arises if S or Q must be the sentence that you will choose. At this junction, I would ask you to pause the video, go through the sentences and arrive at an answer of your own. The answer for this question is choice 4. QRSP. When you're talking about sentence formation or a paragraph formation, we use words like firstly, secondly, finally, and so on. Here, you will see the usage of such words in this paragraph also. The sentence 1 talks about a century ago, the cinema was considered just a mechanical toy. Sentence Q tells it gradually. You can consider pairing sentence Q with sentence 1. We are talking about a century ago. So century onwards, as the time progressed, it gradually. So gradually and as the time progressed, it gives you a similar meaning. You can connect, you can pair sentence Q with sentence 1. Now, when you have these kind of options given to you and you decide that option 4 or sentence Q must be the first sentence in the sequence, you can choose 4 as your answer and move on to the next question. You will be saving a lot of time. You will be able to efficiently complete your questions in any exam. In this question, we have paired Q with sentence 1 and it is the only choice where Q is the first sentence in the sequence. If you have any doubts, if you feel if this is right or not, you can further continue pairing the sentences and check if it is the right choice. For rooted jumbles as such, when you decide on a choice, you can also pair the last sentence, that is sentence 6, with the last sentence in the sequence given to us as a choice. For instance, here we have decided option 4 to be the answer. And we thought sentence Q pairs well with sentence S1. If in doubt, you can check if sentence P connects well with sentence 6. Sentence P tells, thus it came respectability and acceptance. Sentence 6 says, finally it has evolved as the century's most potent and versatile art form. You can connect, you can pair sentence P with sentence 6. This is just a cross check. You're verifying if your answer is right by doing this. This is a possibility in rooted jumble only. At the end of this video, your learning outcome must be that you should be able to rearrange sentences in a proper sequence. You will be able to form the chain of thoughts to make coherent paragraphs. You will understand the difference between floating and rooted parajumbles.